Dark bleatings, everybody. This is the second take of this intro for various reasons. I am here with Steve J. Shaw of Black Shuck Books today. You might have heard me bleating on about various books in the Black Shuck Books family, we shall say. I've reviewed many, read many, and I'm a big fan in general. And also, I have been published by Steve as well. I don't know what possessed him to do that, but it was probably because I was holding a gun to his head. But still, yes, that's happened, and I'm in the Black Shuck Books family, as I like to say. So, welcome, Steve. Merry Christmas for the time we're recording this, and Happy New Year for those of you who are now watching it.
No, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you, and indeed New Year to everybody in the world.
Yes.
Yes, you've been published by me twice now, and only what 6 years between the two. So
Yes, yes. I'm a little bit slow putting out my own work, but I read a lot of everybody else's stuff, so I like to stay involved.
well,
Um,
I'm a little bit slow in reading manuscripts, so that's fine. Um, we
Slow,
won't mention them more.
careful deliberation. That's where it is, Steve.
Hmm,
So.
exactly that. Yes.
For the uninitiated, for people that might have never picked up any of your books, would you like to tell people what Black Shuck Books is and what you publish?
Sure. I publish stuff that I like. I know
Hmm.
that's a little bit curious to say, but it's true. One of the joys of being Black Shuck Books, being the only person that lives in this company, works in this company, is I get to have final say on everything.
Hmm.
So I get to choose stuff that I enjoy and go, I like this, I'm going to put that out. Um, so I don't really have a kind of set, this is exactly what I do,
Hmm.
unlike certain other presses might do. Um, it's very much if I like it, if I read it and I enjoy it and I think it's well done, then I want it.
Hmm.
And that does supersede genre
Hmm.
sometimes. I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I started off specifically as a horror publisher because horror has always been my first love. Um, and I suppose I kind of rebranded, for want of a better, less horrific term, a few years ago
Hmm.
to being what I refer to as a publisher of peculiar fiction, which is to say anything that's unusual that I enjoy.
Yeah,
Because it occurred to me that a lot of the stuff that I enjoy is not what you would necessarily refer to as horror.
yeah, I think that's quite a natural evolution for your press, though, because so for one of your anthology series, there's a up until now, for sure, there's been a focus on
Mhm.
British horror, and when you're sort of say collecting authors for those, for lack of a better term,
No,
but
collecting is an excellent idea.
yes. But you're getting people that are writing within the conventions of horror, but you could reasonably put their stories in other genres like dark fantasy, sci-fi as well, quite often. People like Priya Sharma, I'm thinking of, that write these really fantastical, often mythology-based stories that have like they've got like a type of horror current running through them, but a lot of people wouldn't class those as horror stories, and like it really
Exactly.
comes down to sort of nitty-gritty subjectiveness in those
Hmm.
cases. Um, but yeah, no, I really like the direction you've taken the press in because I think what is even classed as horror is really opening up quite a lot over well, definitely during the time that you've been running the
Hmm.
press.
Yeah, very much so. Priya is a very good example. The one that I tend to go to is Robert Sherman.
Oh yeah.
I've never read one of Rob's stories that I didn't love, and yet the ones that you could traditionally squarely put into a horror bracket are quite minimal.
Hmm.
They've all got peculiarity to them,
Hmm.
but actual pure horror, not so much. And yet they're exactly the sort of thing that I enjoy reading, and as such, exactly the sort of thing I want to publish.
Yeah, I this is something that I come up against reviewing things as well because I say only send me horror stuff for review. This is a horror review website, but I've reviewed so much stuff that would be more in this peculiar fiction kind of category. Like if you have to categorize it, I guess that's where it's best fitting. And I've I've reviewed a lot of novellas this year that like they were definitely anxiety-inducing moments and things that you'd find in horror, like themes you'd also find in horror, but like just presented a bit differently. And at some point, I think it was at some point last year, I thought I'm gonna have to decide what I'm defining as horror. Then, if I'm telling people to only send me horror, because I really enjoy wider reading than I thought I did initially. So I say anything that reasonably has sort of horror themes in it'll do. Like I'll read anything.
I
Um,
think the flip side to that for me, and I say this without judgment on anybody, is there's quite a lot of horror, specific, not traditional horror, but there's quite a lot of fiction that is horrific, that is horror, that's being published as horror that I really don't get on with.
Yeah, there are sort of subgenres and categories of it that aren't my that are a really hard sell for me. I don't typically like extreme horror. It's just not my bag. I will read it, and there are exceptions to that. Obviously, I'm a big LaRocca fan, and I think most people would put him in the more extreme categories.
Yeah,
That sort of like transgressive bracket. Um, and I'm not huge on slashers either.
no,
That's never been my bag, but I
and yet
usually.
both of those subgenres I adore on film.
Yeah, I see. I don't like them on film either, but I find them more palatable when I'm reading them if they're well written. So, but I do tend to give people a heads up. I really just have an aversion to crime. So whenever someone sends me something that's like a crime horror blend,
Mm.
I now try to let people know, just so you know,
This is not for me. Yeah, okay.
it's not my bag. I will read it and review it if you want me to, but it's a hard sell for me. Just that's just preference though.
Yeah, well, I mean, each their own. I've published a handful of crime horror
Mhm.
um, stories. I mean, a number of years ago, a couple of stories in Great British Horror were really more crime than they were horror. And this is
Mhm.
going back to volume two of the anthology. Um, Both Paul Finch and Carol Johnston wrote me stories which were almost police procedurals, both of them.
Yeah, I actually make an exception for Paul because that's quite often what you find in his work is because but that's because of his experience.
Exactly that.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, for anyone who hasn't read Paul Finch, if you like crime horror blends, he is a great author to go to for that kind of stuff. I think he blends the two really, really well. It's just his knowledge base. It just feels very authentic when you're reading it.
Well, as you'd expect it to. Yes.
Yeah.
I think Paul's a fantastic author who
Yeah.
really enough recognition. He's obviously made a very, very good name for himself, and deservedly so in the crime world.
Hmm.
But his horror fiction, his straight horror fiction, and his kind of hybrid horror crime fiction is outstanding.
Yeah, he has scary ideas.
Yeah,
Um,
disturbingly mostly based in fact, I think.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the special elements of his work because of his real world experience with what he's writing about. I think yeah, so sometimes reality is way worse than anything you could conjure up out of your
Oh yeah,
imagination.
massively
Um,
so.
so I definitely want to talk to you about some of the mechanics of how you work for
Mhm.
press, but before we get onto that, I wanted to ask you, in the time that you've been publishing anthologies and obviously you publish a lot of collections, but you spend a lot of time reading short stories. You probably the only person I know that reads more short stories per year than I do.
Mm.
Um, have you noticed any sort of trends in what people are sort of thematically writing about over time?
That's an excellent question. Nothing that springs to mind, which is a terrible answer. Um, I don't know, honestly. Is there? There's, I mean, genre trends. Yes, genre
Mhm.
trends kind of come and go as they do in all writing, I imagine. Um, Thematically, I don't know. I suppose the one thing that comes to mind that seems to be more prevalent now than it was when I started is kind of mental health themes.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
there is a lot more of that I'm seeing in writing.
Hmm.
Uh, that's not a bad thing by any means. Um, if it's done well, as with anything else, as long as it's done well, it's grand. But
Hmm.
that's certainly an area that I've seen more of, I think, in recent years. Well, as you know, I did an entire book um, on that thing.
Hmm.
a couple of years ago that came out at the same time as yours did, Dave Jeffries' Shadows book. I say I did, he did, and then I put it in a nice little box and sold it to people.
Yeah, that
Uh,
was good.
it is quite a
Doing.
good book, isn't it? Um, but other than that, no, I don't. Nothing that I can pinpoint. And I'm gonna finish this conversation whenever we're done today, and I'm going to spend the rest of the evening thinking this over, and then going, "Oh, I should have said that, shouldn't I?" And that would have been good because
Well,
that's how the interviews go.
um, that's really my fault because I never prep anyone for these interviews about the things I might ask them because I never know what
Oh,
I might ask.
even
It
if you
just,
had, I probably wouldn't have thought about it until we got it, because that's how I roll. As anybody who's been to one of my book launches can testify.
oh yeah, those are fun. Um,
Well, they might be fun for you. Every time I do a book launch, and this is why I haven't done one for several years, every time I do one, I think, oh, I'm doing a launch. I should think about what I'm going to do.
mhm.
And then I don't think about what I'm going to do. And then I get to the launch and I go, oh, I've prepped absolutely nothing. I know
Well,
who's here and what we're selling, and that's all I've got.
I'm a big fan of the wing it strategy for such things myself, Steve. So no, I see
That's
no
how I roll.
problem.
That's
Um,
how I roll.
I really agree with you about the rise in work about mental health. I've noticed it as a reviewer, because I'll notice for a few months all the stuff. Well, not all the stuff, but there'll be a large number proportionately of that'll be in sort of like for a while it was a lot of folk horror,
Mhm.
lots of folk. Well, maybe not strictly folk, but lots of cults. That was a theme for me for a while, which was fine by me because that's one of my sort of favorite subgenres of horror anyway. But the mental health stuff, when it's done well, I find it a really hard read because it's done well. And I need some sort of palate cleanser after I read. Like if I've read a few of those in a row, I start to feel a bit like, oh God, I don't know if I'm okay now. I'm have like
You
it
see, there's an easy solution to that. Go into them knowing full well that you're not okay.
Yes.
It's how I
And
address these things.
if that fails, watch an episode of something really stupid afterwards. Red Dwarf is a popular pick for me. Red Dwarf, The In-Betweeners,
Yeah.
something really silly. Um,
Friday night dinner. That's a good go-to. That always.
Critters or Gremlins if you're feeling festive. Um, yeah, I'm wondering what the next thing might be. The reason I asked you that is
Mhm.
because when you're putting an anthology together, I assume that when you're collecting stories, because you often invite authors
Mhm.
to submit to you, don't you? So I'd imagine that one of the main things you really need when you're putting an anthology together is like a variety in the stories. And so I wondered if everyone's kind of inspired by like mental health or whatever the subgenre or topic might be. I wonder if you ever come up with problems where like half your authors send you stories of similar themes or something.
Not so far, I'm pleased to
Okay,
say.
please.
It's not been an issue so far. So I edit one anthology a year myself,
Hmm.
you know, which used to be themed
Yeah.
until I ran out of themes.
Yes.
It's a dumb thing to say because I've only done seven themed ones, and there's hundreds more than that.
Hmm.
When it came to do volume eight, I couldn't think of something. Basically, is what happened, and I just went, oh, I don't know. I don't. What's good? What can I do?
Hmm.
Uh, so I just said, well, let's just have a generic, peculiar theme. There we go. Let's
Hmm.
run with that. And I decided I liked it, and then hence why that is now the ongoing theme of the anthology. Um, but no, fortunately, thus far, I haven't had that problem. Thematically, obviously, when you're doing themed anthologies, there is a certain amount of crossover.
Hmm.
But even when I was doing those, even when I did, the first one I did was folk horror,
Hmm.
um, and that was I had 11 stories that were all completely different in tone, completely different in subject matter, even if they had the same basic underlying theme.
Hmm.
You're absolutely right. I do like a variety. I like a variety of themes. I like a variety of writing styles, and I
Hmm.
like a variety of experience.
Hmm.
One of the things that I've always tried to do with that series is to have a mix of people that have been doing this for decades in some cases, um, together with people who have maybe had one or two stories published at that point.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I really like how the book comes together when you've got that combination of experience going in.
Mhm. Yeah, I there's nothing better to me than an anthology that has a mixture of like a few authors I've heard of, or like the more traditionally popular names, and then people I've never heard of, I've never read before. And I often find that my favorite stories are by the indies, and then I'll look them up later and to discover they've only had two published stories or whatever. Um, I just about finished with the Stand anthology by
Right. Yeah.
Frankie and Chris Golden, and I've noticed that some of my favorite stories in there are written by authors I've never heard of, and then I've looked them up, and they're mostly indie, which like it makes me happy to know that the editors gave some indies a shot in a
Absolutely.
project like that, and it wasn't it because it doesn't feel like super exclusive, and you've got to be like a really big name even
Very
for
much.
a project like that. Um,
I've only read four of those stories so far, I think, four or five.
it's a big
I'm
book.
enjoying it so far. Um, I don't get a lot of time to sit and read for the pleasure of reading
I
these
can
days.
imagine.
Um, with work and family commitments and everything
Mhm.
together, I don't have an awful lot of time to just go, right, well, I'm going to sit down with a book now. And so hence bits and pieces here and there when I get the chance,
Yeah.
which means many more short stories and many less novels for me at the moment. Because I really don't like starting a novel and then not getting back to it for days or weeks on end. That makes me sad.
Yeah, you got to start it all over again often if you
Mm.
do that as well, because you can't remember what you read.
I've got a
Oh,
Stephen King novel on my shelf that I haven't even opened yet, and that's the first time that's happened to me in I don't know how long.
I have too, his last book. I was
Mm.
really ex I pre-ordered it. I was really excited for it, but I just I think I got a little I was trying to catch up on my review requests and things, and I kept thinking, well, I'll treat myself to it when I'm done, but I'm never done
No, exactly that.
because like
When
close.
are you ever done?
No.
And partly for me as well, I see we're talking about the same book about Never Flinch, which
Mhm.
I'm sure is very good, but it's more Holly Gibney stuff. It's more of the kind of the more I don't even know how to describe it, the less supernatural King.
Yeah, I prefer
Um,
Supernatural King. I do like the
I
Holly
do.
Gibney stories, but I my favorite stuff is probably from the 80s, his
Mhm.
80s and like late 70s stuff. So
my,
um
my favorite King is still his short stories, apart from It, which is still my favorite novel of all time.
that's
Um,
my favorite of his too. And his shorts are so like he's
but the shorts
really
are fantastic.
yeah. Yeah, that's always what I recommend to people who've never read King. I'll like recommend one of the collections
Mm.
because you get a bit more flavors of King in those than if you just pick up a novel. Um, so why did you start the press and inundate yourself with so much work?
Why would I do such things?
Yeah,
um, okay, so I'll tell you, and I'll tell you honestly, even though it doesn't paint me in necessarily the best light.
go on. I'm
Um,
intrigued.
so I've been reading horror since I was in single figures.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly when. Um, I think the first horror book I bought, I think, was Stephen King's Different Seasons.
Mhm.
But
Good
prior
book.
to that, I'd read some James Hare, but I'd read The Rats and I'd read The Fog, which my dad owned and I found on his bookshelf and read The Fog way, way younger than I should have done. Um, so I've always loved horror. I've always been a fan. I've always been a fan of reading horror. Um, apart from those kind of wilderness years in my late teens, early 20s, where I read nothing at all. Um, so I've always read a lot of horror, and I've read King since I was a kid. I still read King, but the kind of mainstream horror that I was reading, King aside, really wasn't doing much for me.
Mhm.
Um, and admittedly, I didn't dig hugely into what was available because have I didn't have access to the kind of network of authors that I have now. So,
Yeah.
uh, for better or for worse, I didn't have access to I didn't know those books were out there. Is kind of where I'm going with this.
Mhm.
Um, so I started picking up independently published stuff,
Mhm.
and I read quite a lot of that for 2, 3 years, and really liked a lot of what I read. And this is the bit that doesn't paint me terribly well. Really did not like the way the books were made.
No,
So
I think that's Faye.
Yeah, I worry that because I've told this story to a number of people because a number of people have asked, and I think I come across as somewhat arrogant when I say it. Now, I don't mean it in that way, but I am going to be honest. I picked up these books, and whilst the stories were good, the production really wasn't a lot of the time. Um, and there came a point where I thought, do you know what, I could do this, and
Mhm.
I think I could do it better than this, and that's kind of the arrogant bit. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go. What have I got to lose? Let's give it a try. Um, and it seems to have worked out so far.
Yeah, I don't think it's arrogance though. I think that's just being passionate about what you're reading and wanting the presentation to match it. Because
Yeah.
so I'm sure that I would assume that most of the people watching or listening to this will be familiar with indie presses. But if you're not and you don't know what we're talking about, um, indie presses are generally run by like one to just a couple of people, usually just out of their houses. Um, sort of self-funded, self-taught, and so sometimes you'll get books that they're like really poorly formatted or something, and it's just because like people want to get this stuff out there, but they don't really know the technicalities of everything. So you'll end up with like great stories, but this is a pet peeve of mine. I don't slate people for this in reviews or anything. I did in my first year of Happy Go Horror, which I feel a bit bad about now because now I've tried to do this stuff myself and I understand how hard it is. So I will comment on formatting if it's really bad in a review just so that people are aware when they go into the book, but I won't necessarily sort of mark the book down for it overall if the story is great. But yeah, my biggest pet peeve is when the text isn't aligned
Oh yeah.
properly and it's all just wibbly on one side. It really,
Lovely left aligned text. Yeah, that's always fun to read.
yeah, it's so jarring to open a book and see it because everyone's got everyone can picture opening a book and you expect to see it laid out a certain way. Um, so yeah, it is difficult. And so did you teach yourself
Yeah,
how to, because you do everything yourself, right?
yeah. Well, aside from some of the cover designs, every now and
Hmm.
again, an author will say to me, I've got a particular piece of work I'd like to use as the cover, or I've got a particular artist I would like to use. But
Hmm.
more often than not, because artists are, and rightly so, expensive,
Hmm.
I do it all myself.
Hmm.
That's how I started out. I started out doing my own covers because I couldn't afford to pay an artist.
Yeah,
Um,
but
and it turns out I quite like doing that. So I carried on doing it.
I really like your shadows covers because all my books are upstairs. I had to relocate before
It's all gone
recording,
horribly
guys.
wrong, hasn't it?
But yeah, the shadows books they're so collectible. They're just these lovely little paperbacks, collections all written by all different authors and they themed. And yeah, the cover design will always just have, they'll be like simple, but it'll just be like something that clues you in about the theme if the title already doesn't. And I just think they look so good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They have over and above anything else in terms of the design of my books. That's the series that people always comment on. Uh,
Yeah, they're just
there's
so
been so
cool.
much love for the covers of those books, which is lovely, and the contents. Obviously, the contents go without saying that they're great, but the covers always get really good comments from people. And and as you say, because they are in part because they are a coherent series, because they
Mhm.
are a collectible series that you know a Shadows. If you're familiar with the series, you know a Shadows book as soon as you see it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I like that in the books that I read. I love a coherent series of books.
yeah. I love yeah, those shadows books, like they all match. So if you I have loads of them. So if you like line them up on your shelf, they're like a really good set. And I like Adam Neville's books for that as well. He's got the
Adam is doing really, really nice work with his books. Yeah,
Yeah, there's just a nice uniformity to his books. Like they collect again a collectible because he always goes black and red with the cover, and they're all, like something that really winds me up when you get books in a series is where for some reason one book will be taller than all the
yeah.
rest of them. We're like, why have you
I know
done?
it's horrific, and it should be outlawed under the Geneva Convention, quite frankly, because it
that?
makes me sad.
It really, yeah, it makes me mad too. How did you learn how to do all of this online, Steve? Like, how did you go about? So there's because obviously this is a lot of jobs rolled into one. So you're acquiring stories, reading them, and then you're editing, proofreading, and all of that outside of things as well. You're doing most of the time you're doing the cover design, you're doing the formatting and the layout. So where did you even start, like learning how to do all of this stuff?
I read a lot of books.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, it is that simple.
Hmm.
Um, and this kind of ties back to the previous question about why did I start doing it?
Mm.
Because the books that I was buying from independently published books didn't look like the books that I read.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
didn't have justified text. They didn't have running headers. They didn't have page numbers sometimes.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right. And I'm looking at these and I'm thinking, but that's missing. That's not what a book looks like, because a book looks like this. And
yeah,
that is honestly how it worked. Is when I started doing it, I looked at books and I went, right, what does a book look like? Okay, well, this
yeah.
looks like this, so this is how I'm going to do it. What font do books use? Okay, well, I'll use this one. This is a fairly. I
Hmm.
used to. Sorry, brief digression into very dull font talk, but it is a.
Go on.
So I used to typeset in Times New Roman because at the time I thought that made sense, and I don't really like it, but I thought it made sense, and I don't anymore because I don't like it.
Mhm.
Um, but a nice clear serif font.
Yeah,
That's the typeset. Um, and yes, they are justified across the page because that's what books look like, and that's
yeah.
that's really all it is. What do books look like? Well, I'll do that then. And if you
I'm
don't know how to do that, you learn how to do that.
I'm always I think that's one of the major selling points of your press, and what makes it more impressive that you're like a one man publisher here is because the quality of your books is the standard is so high. Like they're beautifully presented books, and like especially your hardcovers, they're gorgeous. Just perfect layout and everything, and yeah, they're really beautiful books. And as so I have tried formatting a few things, and I know how I want it to look. I always have, it's usually a Stephen King book I've got next to me, where like to for as a guide for how it should look, or something from a major
Yeah.
press. But the learning the mechanics of how to actually get it to look like that. Um, I remember calling Justin Park, who used to run Sinister Horror, um, just in tears once because I was so angry because I changed one thing, and then all of a sudden the left-hand page was like shorter than the right-hand page or wherever it was that like I was doing it in Word. I know there are better
Yeah.
programs, but it's just it is a real feat of like endurance learning
Oh, no, it really is.
how to
I,
do all this.
I, for the first 5 years or so, I was
Mhm.
typesetting in Word,
Yeah.
um, because I'd used Word for 20 plus years and I knew
Mhm.
how it worked, so I was doing that. And it's unwieldy at times, but you can kind of work around it. You 90% of working in Word is fighting against what Microsoft think you want to do.
Oh, it's
Um,
I'm always just shaking my fist in fury at it, like,
right?
why? That was a stylistic choice.
Damn you, Gates! Yeah, every time, every time. So it was actually when I started working for Brian Showers, who runs Swan
Mhm.
River Press. So I'm his typesetter as well.
Yeah.
So when I started working for him, he said, "Oh, we typeset everything in InDesign. You
Mhm.
can use InDesign, can't you?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I can."
Just quickly go
Um,
away and learn what that
and then
is.
went and learned InDesign. No, I had a kind of a basic grounding in InDesign to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, but I wasn't really using it. I hadn't taken the time to sit down and go, right, I'm going to learn how to do this properly. And then when Brian offered me work, I'm like, right, well, I'm going to have to learn how to do this properly now.
Mhm.
So I did. And again, I'm no expert in InDesign, but I can manipulate it to do what I want it to do.
Yeah, it's like fighting having a bit of a battle
Hmm.
with someone who's
Yeah,
trying to throw several spanners into the works. But
very much like that. Yeah.
um,
Uh,
there's
but
just so
but
much
but
to think
but
about though, Steve. Like even like the color of your pages, like
mhm.
that was something I'd never thought about before. And then all of a sudden it's like, what color do you want the paper? I'm like, oh my God. And then you realize like that's another thing sometimes when you see like an indie book, like I don't know, people watching and listening might think of something, but you'll like pick up a book and the pages are too white.
Mhm.
And then you suddenly realize, oh yeah, there's different types of
Yeah,
white. And
absolutely. And again, when I started out, I'm like, what color do you want your words printed? I'm like, well, I want them on white. What am I? A monster of some sort. I'm going to do white text on black. That's just dumb. And then when you look at it, you go, well, I don't really want white. I don't
yeah,
want bright white pages because I don't like reading on bright white pages.
yeah, it's
Soft white.
something
You
that's
want the
just
cream paper.
yeah, it just feels wrong. Like when you actually see like a regular pack of paper that you'd buy for your printer, like when it's that color, you're like, oh, this doesn't seem like a real book. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to anyone who's self-publishing or any indie presses that are doing that. I'm just saying like there's I think because we've been so conditioned to expect a certain thing with a book from the major publishers, it registers as like something's off a bit
Exactly
when
that. Yeah.
and sometimes you don't even know where it is because you're looking at it and it looks fine and you're like, I don't like what is happening? And it's like maybe the header margin is slightly too large or small.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it could be anything like that. I'm very much like that.
mm,
So in terms of layouts, both interior and cover layouts, I tend to work on instinct, and I think
mhm,
most people do. So you kind of play with it until it feels right.
yeah.
Um, and I don't always get it right. I don't think anybody always gets it right, but I
Mhm,
like to think I get it right more often than I don't. But it is a feel thing. It is a kind of you lay something out and you go, no, there's something off.
mhm.
And maybe you just sit and look at it for a little while until you go, oh, okay, oh, it's that. Or you move a few things around and you go, that feels better to me. Uh,
What, how did you learn about things like this is a selfish question, I'm asking
mhm.
purely for myself. But I'm sure other people would be interested. Things like where to print your stuff. Because I know that you can just go right through Amazon, but then it's kind of like exclusive. Well, not exclusive to Amazon, but all the printing goes through there. But there are other options. So like what was your decision about what kind of printers you used and stuff based
So
on?
um, again, I started off with Amazon
Hmm.
when Amazon was called CreateSpace. Their
Hmm.
self-published side of things are called CreateSpace. I was going through there for a few years,
Hmm.
um, which had its upsides. The upsides being it cost you nothing,
Yeah.
which when you're starting out is a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Downsides being that Amazon print all of your books. You can't sell them anywhere else.
Hmm.
You can sell them yourself, but you can't. They won't go into any other stores
Yeah.
if you do it through Amazon, through what is now KDP.
Hmm.
Um, but at the time, that wasn't a big deal. I was very, very small. I was starting out. It wasn't, yeah, it would have been lovely to go into a bookshop and go, oh, that's one of my books. But
Hmm.
at the time, that wasn't realistic. What really turned it around for me was that the print quality of Amazon's print on demand books plummeted and
Hmm.
really plummeted. They used to be good. I mean, I was
Hmm.
going to say fine, but no, it was better than fine. They were actually good. I think what happened was they moved, or they changed their production facilities. So they were printing everything in the US,
Hmm.
which meant it took, a good couple of weeks to get stock sent over here. But the upside to that was they had a quality assurance team. At least
Hmm.
this is all assumption, but this is how it feels to me. They had a QA team who was looking over the printed work before it
Hmm.
left the facility in the US. Now they print books in the UK and you get them in a few days.
Hmm.
But from what I can, from what I assume from the quality that I've seen, they don't have anybody checking them over. So
Hmm.
they just print them and ship them, and if they look shit, they look shit, and that's not their problem.
Yeah.
Which you could say is symptomatic of Amazon as a company, but I wouldn't ever be the one to say that. It definitely is that. Um, so I moved on to another company called Ingram Spark.
Hmm.
Benefits of Ingram Spark are that you set up a book through them, and as long as you buy an ISBN and you set it up through Nielsen, which is the company that runs all the ISBNs to the UK,
Hmm.
it then goes into a database where any bookshop can order it in this
Hmm.
country or anywhere else.
That's cool. So
Uh,
you don't have to like keep on top of, so like the ordering goes through
so
that?
ordering all goes through them.
Cool.
So
Okay.
I just do the setup,
Hmm.
And then I don't ever have to deal with retailers. Anybody that
Yeah.
wants books goes on to, and it's they don't even have to go out of their way.
Yeah.
It's a company called Gardeners that oversees it all, I believe.
Hmm.
So if you're a Waterstones buyer, for example, and you go, right, well, there's this book by this tiny little press that a
Hmm.
customer has asked for, you search the database, it pops up. Great, golden. Unfortunately, again, in my personal experience, the quality of Ingram has gone downhill in the 6 or so years that I've been using them,
Mm.
which makes me very sad. Um, there's a lot of printers out there. There are a lot of other print on demand printers out there. I
Hmm.
haven't used yet. I am looking at switching to another company next year, in fact.
I have heard people are having problems with Ingram recently, just like waiting forever for orders or like stuff like that. But
Yeah, their turnaround time's not great, but it's
mm.
it's okay. It's always been manageable. My problem with Ingram is that their margin of error is too big.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
they have join in everybody at home for the fun technical part of the talk. They have a 5 millimeter margin of error on their covers.
Right.
Now, 5 millimeters, that's quite a lot
Yeah,
on a
for
book.
cover. Yeah.
So the amount of books that I've had where the spine text is way off center wasn't,
Mm.
it's not even funny. The last book that I published, which is Stephen Volk's The Confirmed Bachelors, which came out
Mhm.
last month, I had a copy of that come from Ingram, and it was so bad that half of my logo was on the back cover.
Oh my God.
Absolutely shocking. And you've seen the Shadows books; they're quite
Yeah.
narrow, quite thin books.
Yeah.
So you imagine how much difference a half centimeter error can make on that. And I'm
Yeah.
just not happy with it. And I've spoken to them about it repeatedly, and their response is always, "Well, that's our margin of error. That's how we work."
That's
So,
yeah.
so hence why I'm looking at moving on to somebody else in the new year.
Yeah. Well, this is the kind of thing that like as a reader and a consumer of books, like this is the kind of stuff that people just like don't know behind the scenes because people it's all it's like stupid publisher, why didn't they put the thing on the da-da-da? It's like they did. But it's printed like this. Um yeah, it's so much to think about.
It's one of those things, like like the vast majority of the design process.
Mhm.
It's one of those things that if you do it well, nobody ever notices it's there.
Mhm. Yes,
If
exactly.
you
Yeah.
typeset the interior of a book well, nobody has ever. I don't think, and I might be wrong, but I don't think anybody has ever spoken to me and gone, "Do you know what? I really like the way you typeset that book." There might,
I'll
there
say it
might,
to you now though.
you can. There might have been. I'm saying that, and there might actually be the odd person that has done that because I've done some curious things in some of the interiors of some of my books.
Mhm.
Um, but let's say very rarely does anybody say that.
Mhm.
But if you consistently don't do it well,
Mhm.
then it is one of the things that people will pick up on. It's something that
Mhm.
sticks out when it's not right, but you never notice when it is, or you
Yeah.
don't. You never notice unless you're somebody like you or I, in which case
Yeah.
you'll say, well, that's just not right.
I'm looking for things.
Yeah.
Um, were you when you first started doing all of this, what was the first book that you put out?
First Black Shuck book I did was called Wild Things.
Hmm.
It was an anthology of therianthropic horror.
Yes. What's that?
Uh, that is werewolves and the like.
Oh, okay, cool.
shape
Okay.
shape changing. So whereas werewolves is lycanthropic, therianthropic is the same thing but all manner of different animals.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So there were a couple of werewolf stories in there. There was also somebody who turned into a fish. There was a centipede one.
Oh,
There was
that sounds cool.
oh, that is one of the most disturbing stories I've ever published because I have a real problem with bugs. I don't like a bug.
It's very Kafka-esque that,
It was kind of yeah, and I particularly don't like centipedes. So
yeah, it's
that
too many
one
legs.
far too many. It's just not right. Somebody should have a word. Honestly, it's not right. And
Yeah, whose idea
anything,
was that?
anything more than four, honestly, is pushing it. Anything over and above that is just wrong. Um, so yeah, that probably freaked me out. So that was my first one. That was the original book. All right. What actually originally happened was that there is a woman by the name of Teresa Derwin who used to run a
Yeah,
press called Night Watch Press,
yeah.
and about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, maybe something like that. I remember her posting on Facebook saying that she was looking for editors for anthologies.
Hmm.
And I dropped her a note. I didn't know Teresa at the time. She was a Facebook friend. I'd never met her. I
Hmm.
dropped her a note and said, I'd quite like to edit an anthology. I've never done it before. And I imagine you're looking for people with experience, but I'd like to give it a go. So, if you're ever considering somebody that's never done it before. And she came back to me and said, no, that's fine. If you want to give it a go, give it a go.
Okay, great.
Um, so I was going to edit something for her, which didn't come about in the end.
Hmm.
And Wild Things was originally going to be one of her books, but
Hmm.
for a variety of reasons, it wasn't. So I just
Hmm.
thought, well, I'll do it myself then.
Hmm.
And that, as I say, tied in with the kind of the wanting to do the design side of things myself is
Hmm.
how Black Shuck came about. So yeah, that was the first book. It's out of print now, sadly.
Were
But
you were you
um,
confident in what you were doing on that first book, or like have you like has that come as time's gone on with like each book you put out?
I don't know. I'll let you know when it turns out. I have, I have no confidence whatsoever in my own ability. It's
Really?
yeah.
But your books look so good and you always print such
Well,
good
says
stuff.
you. I'm never
Yeah.
happy with what I do.
But
Ask anybody around me. I am never ever satisfied with my own work. It's just not something I'm capable of doing.
I think that that's what makes your work good, though, because we can always learn more and we can always find ways to improve things or new ways of doing things. I think once you feel very content that everything you're doing is spot on, that's when you,
Yeah, so it all falls apart. Yeah.
yeah. Um, well,
No,
you're,
and to actually answer your question properly, no, I wasn't even a little bit confident when I did that, but um, I really had no idea what I was doing, other than I've been a reader for however long it was at that point.
Mhm,
Um, and I was absolutely winging it, completely winging it. It was an open submission call with three exceptions.
mhm,
So I specifically asked three people who I knew
mhm,
that were authors: Johnny Maines,
mhm,
Anna Taborska, and Laura Marrow.
mhm,
Um, I reprinted one of Johnny's stories, reprinted one of Anna's stories, and Laura wrote me something new. And other than that, it was an open call, and I had no idea what I was going to say, no idea what kind of quality of writing I'd find,
mhm.
really no idea about any of it. But the flip side to that, I guess, is it as a first book, you maybe don't have quite so much riding on it,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like, well, this is my first attempt, and if this goes wrong, I can maybe, yeah. If it turns out I don't like doing this or I'm no good at doing this, then I've not really lost anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
It's
if it goes wrong and I want to carry on, I can kind of put that aside and we won't talk about it anymore.
mhm.
That's not why it's out of print, by the way. That's a separate issue.
Um Yeah, it's I think people who've never been on like the editing side of an anthology w I guess reasonably wouldn't have any idea about the kinds of things you have to consider when you're sitting on that side of the desk because my very limited experience of co-editing a couple of anthologies has taught me never ever ever again to be offended if my story doesn't get into an
Oh,
anthology.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like as a writer,
Mm.
it's actually really given me a sense of if anything, it's boosted my confidence if I get a rejection because it could just be that the story is not good, but it's
Yeah.
probably likely um like problems I say problems, things that I realize you have to consider things like if you have invited authors and then others are submissions, you could get like an amazing submission, the best story you've ever read, but if one of the invited authors has already sent you a story and it's like
Hmm.
similar, then you can't take it
No,
because otherwise you're
exactly
going to
that.
have and it's like because things like that, things like oh, I want 12 stories and I absolutely love this 10, but all of this 10 stories has a male protagonist from the same background and like things like not to like not that you have to like diversify for the sake of it, but it's just you've got to consider the viewpoint that you're reading from and
Yeah,
does everybody want have the same taste as you and is this going to be a great reading experience for everyone that buys the book. So I learned so yeah, I've learned to just I send things off when I submit them and just assume I'm never going to hear anything, and then if I do, I'm happy about it. But
absolutely that. Absolutely.
yeah,
Very rarely have I been sent anything either for an anthology or just a submission of publication. Very rarely have I been sent something that I've read and just gone, "This isn't good. This is
Yeah,
bad."
yeah.
However, quite often I get sent things that I read and then I think it's absolutely nothing wrong with this. This is a good, well-written piece of work. It's just not to my taste.
Yeah, yeah, there's obviously going to be a level of subjectivity 'cause it's
Hmm.
your press and it's the stuff that
Yeah,
you want to publish. You're very deeply entrenched in sort of like what we call the bookish community as well. Like you go to a lot of conventions, everybody knows you, and you're friends with a lot of people. Like, do you like d does that ever create any sort of like discomfort for you because you work with a lot of authors that are friends and people that you've met. So I've that was something that I struggled with a little bit. The last anthology I did was I had to re like so many people that I knew sent stories in, and I was like, I have to reject most of these, and they're all my friends.
yeah. I mean, it's never a fun time.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the key point is just be honest with people. As you say,
Mhm.
if we were in that situation now, you and I are friends. If we were
Yeah.
in that situation and you sent me a piece of work and I read it and I thought it's just not for me, it's not for my
Mhm.
taste, I would come back to you and say, "There's nothing wrong with this at all. It's just not right for me right now." And
Yeah.
that wouldn't offend you as an author, would it?
Oh, I'd be so mad, Steve.
Well, all right,
I'd get
you
my
because you're
pitchfork out.
yeah, well, but you're massively unbalanced. You're a bad example.
Yeah.
A,
Well,
a,
but
a
yeah, most
normal
people are
person,
reasonable.
a reasonable normal person, would not be offended by that.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I think is that most authors, especially in the indie spaces, like we all know how it goes. You
yeah,
win some, you lose some. Um,
and what you say is very, very important. Is that it's not a personal slight.
yeah.
If I respond to somebody and I say, "I really appreciate you sending it to me, and I've read it, and it's grand, but it's not for me,"
Hmm.
or it's not to my taste, or I've got nowhere for it right now, or anything like that, it's not a personal slight on you as an individual, whether you're a friend or not.
Yeah.
It is, and I take your point. There has to be some kind of delineation between me, the individual, and me, Black Shuck Books. Um,
Hmm.
I'm fortunate in that very rare have I had to deal with that problem
Hmm.
because I because a lot of the submissions that I get sent are from people that I know personally,
Yeah.
and I know those people personally by and large because I like what they do. That's
Yeah.
how we became friends.
Yeah, I've made a lot of friends that I've met them because they sent me a review request for a book and then I really enjoyed their work and then
Mhm.
you're Facebook friends with them and you like whatever. Um yeah, that's I get awkward on the reviewing side when it's definitely if it's a friend, but if it's an author that I've reviewed before and I usually like their work and then they send me something and I'm like, "Oh no, I don't like it." Like I will still review it because I think it's important. Because if I only ever, I'm just a hobby reviewer, so this isn't, I don't have to like worry about being overly professional, I don't think.
Mm.
But I try to be anyway.
You
But
do a very good job.
oh, thank you. Um I'm not afraid to like put my personal thing in. Like I'm really sorry. I really really like this author, but the story just wasn't my cup of tea. So sorry. Love you. I don't mind writing something like that in a review, but I do think it's important to make sure that I am reviewing the things I don't like as well, because otherwise people will just either assume that I do actually like everything if I only post my positive reviews, or they'll think that I'm go just going to say I like everything because
Yeah.
I like the people. So I feel uncomfortable. I'm typing like no, but
Because it's one of the reasons why I never review anything, and that's really bad because I should, because I know reviews are important for,
I think that you're
for the
doing enough,
public. But
Steve.
well, one can always do more. Um, but I've never felt comfortable reviewing anything because well, there are a number of reasons. Firstly, I find writing anything longer than about 4 words to be a chore, which is why I do what I do and I don't write books.
Well, we
Much as I'd
all
love to, I
well,
can't.
yeah, I do find it easier reviewing things than writing things, but also being a writer and like trying to write a novel, for example, that's changed my view on how I review a novel now because I'm a very, very, very nitpicky person. And if I'm watching a film, I have got no qualms with pulling a film apart because I know that it's gone through, especially a film with a Hollywood budget when it's people's jobs to catch this stuff. But with a book, even at like the most professional level, it is only going through a handful of people.
Mhm.
So like I will be more forgiving now of like, oh, there was a plot thread set up in chapter two and it's gone. But like sometimes like it slips through the net. But yeah, it's a yeah, critiquing is kind of a that's a
Apart from
dicey
apart from anything
subject I've
else,
recently learned.
it's a skill that I just don't have. I don't have that skill to be able to coherently say this is what I think was good and what was not good about a piece of work. I can tell you that I liked something. I can tell you I didn't like something. I can pick up, much like you, I can pick up technical things.
Yeah,
But in terms of actual, is this good storytelling? I can tell you if I like the storytelling. I can't necessarily tell you if it's good storytelling.
I've got to think about it quite a bit. Like, this is why I find it easier to like if I was happy to do it, I won't like pull a book apart for like 1,000 words. Like if I don't like the book very much, I'll be like, it wasn't for me. Here's where I liked and didn't like, and I won't dwell on it too much. But I would find it easier to write a longer review of something that I've got lots of criticisms of than something I loved, trying to explain why I loved it. It's a
Yeah,
weird thing. Um, I
I suppose I'm not, I have heard that said a lot of times by a lot of reviewers. I suppose it's a lot easier to pick up these are the things that was wrong with this piece of work.
Yeah, some things just
Um,
strike you as like, oh, that isn't right. Like, and
mhm.
I'm still trying to find the balance of because sometimes if I have a negative opinion of something, the two times that I've done this about films, this is where people have appeared in my comments calling me stupid.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely.
yes, and I'm not bothered because I have made the decision to air a negative opinion about something that I know that people like. And so people tend to get very defensive about the things they like
Mhm.
because if you say you don't like it, they assume that you're calling them dumb.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
even though I'm
Because
really,
that's obviously what you mean.
yes,
Is
clearly.
this is a terrible piece of work, and anybody who enjoys it is obviously broken somehow.
But I always tell people this is just my opinion. This is subjective. And I think that I have some educated opinions, but I really refrain from saying that to people because I don't want to sound like I'm like, well, I know better than you because I've got a script writing MA. Like I'm never gonna do it because I don't think I know better than people. I just think that I watch things a bit differently. I did a script writing MA and I had a script analysis class. And that class has ruined films for me forever because now it's over. Like usually, like I'd watch a film and be like, it wasn't great, but I didn't hate it. And now I'm like, oh, I hate it with the fire of 1,000 suns, and here's all the reasons why. And
Try working in publishing; it'll ruin reading for you for life as well.
oh God, no, no, never. Um, I don't know if you've seen it. I recently, literally a few
28
days
years later.
yeah, I posted a video 20 and I tried so hard to not be like I'm an authority on this. It was just I'm a fan of the originals. I
Mhm.
really hated 28 years later and I thought that I'd worded that video like I was like I'm inviting people to talk to me about why you liked it. I'd love to know what people liked about it, not to argue with them, just to like actually know what they liked about it because I really didn't like it. And oh my God, like most people have been fine, but I've been called stupid several times. I've had comments like, well, maybe there was just too much going on for you and you clearly don't know how
Oh,
to
bless.
analyze
Yeah.
fiction. Um, maybe you need more simple things to watch, or this
Oh,
film wasn't made for dumb people. And I'm
yeah. You,
like,
you just didn't understand it. That's the problem.
oh, I hate like, and I was like, I have also had several of these. Oh, well, haters. You're just hating it for the sake of it. And I've had people also say it was objectively a good film. You just don't like it. And
Oh, objectively good, was it really?
I'm
Okay.
like, if it was objectively good, we would all like it. Like that's but those are the moments where my dickhead brain goes. But I'm like, no, 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 no. Like they've just got defensive because I think I've pointed out some valid critiques that can't be defended. So I think that when people, that's like a weird moment for people where they're like, oh, that is true, but I still like it, and then they feel weird about it, so like just attack me.
Well, I haven't actually watched 28 Years Later yet.
Well, you might
Um,
like it.
I
Lots of
also
people
enjoy the
do.
first two films. I am planning to watch it at some point, and when I do, assuming that I enjoy it, I will come and berate you on the internet in front of the
Oh,
world.
please. I've had some really good conversations with people who liked it, with like different perspectives that I
Hmm.
hadn't considered, like things I missed and
Yeah,
stuff. Like I really did want like nice, like well, I was hoping for mostly nice conversations. Some of them were a bit like, but no, that's
I mean, and we're moving slightly away from the world of publishing there briefly, but
just a little.
I mean, I studied film myself at
Mm.
university, so film and books are very much tied as my loves. And some of the best conversations I've had have been with people on the subject of film where they have an absolutely opposing viewpoint to me.
Yeah, I love
And
those conversations.
I find them really interesting conversations to have.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily come away having changed my view on it. I sometimes come away with thinking, well, I'll rewatch that at some point
Mhm.
and I'll see how I feel about it. And sometimes my opinion changes.
Yeah,
Um, I am well known with one of my friends for having wildly divergent views on certain films the first time I watched them.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
we've had this conversation many times, and he'll say, "Oh, this was great," and I'll go, "Yeah, I watched it, I didn't care for it." And I'll go, "Yeah, but you don't like things the first time." Um,
Yeah, it's such a funny like studying this stuff made me realize how much stuff I have no idea about. You know, like when you the more you learn about a thing, the more you're like, I have got no idea about this thing. Like it's so yeah, I do think like sometimes I have valid points, but also I know it's just my taste, my preference for things, and it's gone against what I kind of wanted to see or whatever it is, or maybe something is absolute trash. But other people have found other like they're watching it for like hoping to get something different to me
no,
out of it. So it doesn't mean like the film is trash for everybody, just for me. But it's yeah, that's I love having those conversations. Just like I'm like oh people are coming at me, and I was like right, you've put that on the internet on
yeah,
purpose though, so you're gonna have to just deal with that now. So
yeah. See, I don't like the internet.
no,
That's quite a
it can be
sweeping
mean.
statement, but I stand by it. I don't like it. It's had its day.
It's a bit of a I'm a little naive with it sometimes. I'm like if I was thinking, oh, if I say in the video, I'm not having a go at you if you like it, and please, I invite all conversation. I'd love to talk to you. And my brain went, oh, if I just say that, everyone will be like reasonable and get that I'm not trying to be mean-spirited about it. And then I go like, oh, fuck you. I
I
haven't had
know, but
anything that harsh, but
yeah,
like
no, I
um
understand. I mean, I very rarely say anything on social media. I lurk and I read things.
cats and books, that's pretty much all I post these days. I don't like because
Books and books for me, that's really it. I mean, I post professionally,
yeah.
but rarely anything other than that.
I've learned thanks to Facebook memories that occasionally I've just come down on the wrong side of something. I've got like the wrong end of the stick and I've weighed in and then later been like, oh God, no, I don't agree with what I said there at all, like myself. Or I'm just like, oh, why did I post that? Shut up, Kate. Like who cares? No one cares what you just posted. Um, I
No,
think
there you go. Now there is the crux of the matter, as far as I'm concerned, and
yeah.
this is something that is always in my mind, and is why I was apprehensive. Is apprehensive the right word? Maybe not. Uncomfortable about sitting and talking to you tonight, and I'm
Oh,
always
really?
uncomfortable in these situations because my overriding feeling is always, why does anybody care what I think?
See, that is a common thing that people I interview think, though, Steve. Like a lot of like, oh, like I hope someone got something out of this, and I can assure you, like people, like I wouldn't ask you if I didn't think people would be
Oh,
interested, and I think that the people that watch these interviews and the people that watch my channel are like they're just like a fan like me, so I think like the things I want to know are things other people want to know as well. Uh, no,
but it's my standard position on basically everything, which is it's the other reason I don't review things because who am I? You know, and I appreciate it doesn't matter. You don't have to be somebody to be able to review a piece of work, but subconsciously my thought is always, well, you know, why is my opinion any more important or interesting or valid than anybody else's? And as such, why would I put it out for people to look at?
I get like sometimes I think that, but then I think like, uh, my opinion doesn't have to be more important than anyone else's. I would just
No.
like to share it because usually I'm talking about things I enjoy and I like want to spread the love about them.
Yeah,
So
and that's entirely that's
yeah.
the best reason to do it, honestly.
So speaking of like S- just speaking of like critical reviews there, just
Hmm.
because of my like dicey 28 years later experience recently. Do you ever get like defensive on behalf of any of your authors if any of the books you published for them have like got bad reviews? Like I can't imagine why they would, frankly, but if someone didn't like a story or
Um,
something,
Not publicly, no.
but like inside a little bit.
But yeah, absolutely, of course you do. Of course you do. Um, yeah, I, yeah, to a degree. And no, I don't talk about it publicly because why would I? Because it's a review. It's a matter of taste.
Mhm.
Um, but even with things like, if one of my anthologies is reviewed, and people
Yeah.
will say, "Oh, I read this book and it was really, really good, and here's what I thought of every story," and then you'll get, blah, 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 this was great. This one just didn't really work for me, and I get to that point and I go, oh, well, now I
Hoping
don't
for
know
a
how,
slam dunk there.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know how to respond to that. Not that I'm going to respond, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that because that should have landed for you. They should all land for you because they're all great, but then they don't. Things don't
Mhm.
land for people all the time. I don't recall seeing a negative review of anything that I've published. Doesn't mean they're not out there, just means that I haven't seen them.
Mhm.
Um, I don't remember ever seeing one that was just like, well, I picked up this book and I had high hopes and actually it was terrible or anything like that. I've
Yeah.
never read anything like that. I don't know how I'd feel if I saw that. Well, disappointed, I imagine. Bad for my author, certainly.
I
Um,
think I think the mark of a really good anthology though is if you, the editor, believe in everything you put in there and you're a
mm,
fan of everything you put in there yourself. And then I think it's a good sign when reviewers have all got different favorites
mm,
or like different stories that didn't work for them
absolutely.
because that always indicates to me that there isn't just like a handful of really good ones that everyone likes the
Yeah,
most. Like it's like it suggests a level of quality across the board, and it
yeah.
just comes down to your own tastes in what you like to read. Then I I find you I feel weird saying this because you published me. I'm taking myself out of this, and
Okay.
I'm thinking about people like Gary McMahon.
Hmm.
Um, I think that you publish authors of like high caliber, like really, really like good. Like Gary McMahon's writing is unreal.
Hmm.
Sean Hogan is unbelievable.
Yeah, he's all right.
Sean, I do it again. I've been going on about Sean since I first read him because I'm like, why aren't more people reading this guy? And
He's quite good.
yeah, I feel like you've unearthed some like absolute gem authors for me, like people I'd never read before I read them in one of your books, or got the Shadows collection, and like, oh, who's this? I've never
Well,
heard of this
that's
person.
exactly what the point of the Shadows books is.
Yeah,
That was absolutely the point of Shadows book. Was here's something that you can pick up at a very reasonable price, and you can
yeah,
try it out an author that maybe you've not read before.
yeah, yeah. I agree. They're like full stories and everything, but they're like micro collections, so it's like a
Mm.
sampling of
Yep.
the of like the kind of work you're going to see from the author if you go for like longer stuff or whatever. Um,
And at the time that I started doing that, I don't think, and again, I might be wrong, I don't think I'd ever seen anything like it. I don't think I'd ever seen a kind of a coherent series of books that were that length.
no, no,
Um,
I think I do think
there are
they're
some
unique.
now. There
Mhm.
are some others that I've seen since then, but at the time, I don't recall ever seeing anything that was that length. But that was very much the idea, was because, as you say, I do go to a lot of conventions, and
Mhm.
so I go to a lot of dealers' rooms, and you see really nice books
Mhm.
that look beautiful, often by authors you've never heard of, let alone never read, that are being sold for 30, 35, 40 quid, which is fine
Yeah,
because that's how much these books cost sometimes.
yeah,
And as a reader, it can be off-putting to me to say, well, that is quite a wedge of money to spend on somebody that I haven't read and I don't know if I like them. I probably
yeah.
will like them, you know,
Mhm.
because you go on all manner of things. You go on the press. If you read things by that press puts out and you largely like what they publish, you think, well, I'll probably enjoy this. But
Mhm.
it can be off-putting. So that was kind of the idea: was you take an author and you say, right, well, rather than spending 35, 40 quid on a full hardback collection of their work,
Mhm.
here's something you can get for 6 quid.
Yeah,
Have a read
yeah.
of this, and if you like it, here's everything else they've done. Go and buy those.
Yeah, they're great. They're the kind of bookers I like to take a book out of the house with me if I've got to go
Hmm?
somewhere, like an appointment or whatever. And they're
Yeah,
the kind of book that you could like put in the back pocket of your jeans or
that is
in
the
your
idea.
handbag. They're small and like portable and light. So yeah, they're great. And they're always I know you can dip in and out with short stories, but I tend to just end up reading them back to back
Well,
anyway because
yeah, because that is what you do. Yes, that's
yeah,
just the way it works. That's how books work, ladies
yes.
and gentlemen. You start at
Um
the beginning and you finish at the end.
but I mean in one sitting is what I mean.
Well, for preference, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
they're very Moorish, the length of the
Yes,
stories in this book.
like
So,
crack. Yeah,
um, so I suppose I should release you in a
if you
minute.
wish.
Um,
I've got so many things to do with my time, obviously.
yes, yeah, me too, me too.
Really. Well,
Um,
I kind of do. I conceded, not conceded. I treated myself
mhm,
10
yeah.
days ago to 12 days ago and bought a PS5 finally.
Oh my God,
So that's what
you've
the rest of
joined
my evening
us.
looks like.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
There's
I
so
am
much.
doing. Thanks.
Um, is there, for people who haven't picked up any of your books before,
Mhm.
or for people who are readers, is there a good place to start, or anything that you've recently released that you would like to let people know about?
Sure. I mean, all manner of things, I suppose. Um, the Shadows books is always a good entry point, I
Hmm.
think. The Shadows books, as I may have hammered on about a little bit previously, are yeah, they're a low priced book
Hmm.
that you're not investing a huge amount of money, and you're getting, four, six stories for your money. And I think they are. I really do think they're a genuinely an excellent sampler of an author's work.
Hmm.
Um, so if you're looking to try out somebody that you've maybe not read before, then that is a very good way to go into it.
Hmm.
I am personally very proud of the Great British Horror series,
Yeah.
which the 10th volume of which came out last month. And I happen to have a copy sat next to me. Here
Oh,
it is.
good. Show it to us.
Right.
Oh,
Can you see that?
look at that.
That is volume 10.
Yes.
That is, yes, volume 10 of what was called Great British Horror.
Hmm.
It isn't anymore. It will continue. There is a volume 11 next year, but it'll just be called something peculiar from now on.
Hmm.
Um, but that has, it's got bits of Mark Morris is in that one, John Langan is in that. Um, Guy Adams is in there, Tim Major is in there,
Hmm.
Marion Womack's in that one. It's like all the other anthologies in that series. I like to think it's, as we said before, it's a nice variety of experience and writing styles.
Hmm.
Um, so once again, I'm very proud of that. I'm really pleased with that series generally. I have, in fact, today I've confirmed the final author for next year's book.
Ooh, how
Um,
exciting.
which obviously I can't tell you about at all until it's announced next year. What else? What else? Well, Stephen Volk's The Confirmed Bachelors, which
Hmm.
came out last month. Um, by the time anybody in the real world gets to see this, it'll be too late for stocking fillers. But Valentine's Day's around the corner.
Yes.
If your devoted partner or someone you'd like to be your devoted partner is a fan of Edwardian ghost hunting stories, then that is very much the way to go. That's now available. Um, I mean, everything. I only publish things that are good. So,
That is true.
buy anything, buy anything that I've done. They're all great. Um, it is. I mean, those are those are basically just these are the new things.
Yeah.
Um, it's very difficult for me to say aside from that what stands out because I think I'm so
Yeah.
proud of so many things that I've done.
It's like picking one of your kids.
It
Um,
really is like it really is like that. I mean, you kind of think, well, if I even if I could pinpoint, there are a couple of things that I could pinpoint and go, actually, well, this is something. And then I think, well, if I say that, what about all the others that I don't mention?
yeah.
And
Um,
that doesn't make them bad books.
no, it's just yeah, it's just you
Um,
thought yeah, you think of things for different reasons.
you
Um,
do. Some so collection wise, Ray Cleary's All That's Lost, which I did
yeah, I love the cover for
4 years
that
ago.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is probably the cover I'm most happy with,
Yeah, it's a beautiful book.
and I'm still not happy with it. But I am as close to happy with that as I am with anything. Ray is a lovely man and a dear friend who I don't see anywhere near enough of. Um, and when he came to me and he said, "I want to do a second collection," Would you like it? I said, obviously I would like it. I'm not an idiot, right? And I came up with this concept of doing this kind of tribal design, tribal tattoo design,
Mhm.
which incorporated an image which referenced each of the stories in the book.
Yeah, it's the more you look
Um,
at it, the more there is to
the more
see.
you find. That was the
Mhm.
idea, yeah. So I did this, and I think that went through about 14 different iterations because every time I did one, I sent it to Ray and he went, "Oh my God, that's fucking brilliant. I love it." What the thing is though, I have taken this story out and I've swapped it with this one. Right. Well, that doesn't cause me any work at all, Ray, you beautiful man. I'll just redo this again then, shall I? Yeah. All right, great. So that's a glorious book. Alison Littlewood's A Curious Cartography. I'm very proud of that one.
Oh, I
I did
love
years ago.
Alison.
Alison's a glorious individual and a
She's
fantastic writer.
Yeah, she is a glorious person, glorious writer, just
Hmm.
glorious all round. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's another one. Verity Holloway's Cheer the Sick that I published last year is a
Mhm.
beautiful book. Verity's a very, very talented writer who,
Yeah,
again, doesn't get the kind of praise that she should.
yeah.
Um, Sean's all right. I've got Sean
Sure,
Hayden's
no
books
good.
now. Sean's all right. Um, Twilight's Last Screaming, which is the second book in Sean's Screaming duology,
Yeah,
which is monstrous. It's at 700 odd pages.
it is
It's
enormous, that book is.
um, but if you are a fan of genre film,
Mhm,
um, you will find something in there. You will find many, many things in there. I mean, I'm a horror fan. I've been a fan of horror film for almost as long as I've been a fan of horror books. And I'm quite well versed in horror film. I
mhm,
say with all due humility, I've seen a lot. And I read that book and I went, well, I've got most of the references in here, I think, but. And
mhm.
then I sat down with Sean and he's like, oh, this and this. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't get any of that. So thanks. Right. No, I feel a little bit better. But also, I feel wiser because of this. So that is great. That is a fantastic novel.
Good.
I could be here all night, Haley. Honestly, I could just
Well, I
reel them
will.
all up and go, well, this is great and this is great. But
I'm going to put links in the description for people that want to go and check all this out. And if you are wondering, like, if you want an opinion, because obviously I'm not going to ask you, Steve, what your favorite Shadows book is,
no,
but
please don't do that. That would be very, very mean.
if people want pointers on where they want to start with the Shadows books, I have read loads of them. So if you go in the comments and just let me know like what kind of horror you like, I could probably think of
Yeah,
like a good suggestion out of the Shadows books for
I
you.
think that's an excellent choice.
Yes, I do
Um,
have favorites, but it really depends on the day of the week.
what are
Like
your
what?
favourites then? I'm going to put you on the spot now. What are your favourites?
Well, as you know, as everybody in the world knows, I'm a die-hard Kit Power fan and I really
Are
liked
you?
voices.
I've not
Yes.
heard you talk about Kit before.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Um,
realise you'd read any of Kit's work.
no,
Oh,
nothing. Only the entire catalogue of his work. I thought, yeah, his voices was really good. I'm going to say her name wrong,
go
but
on.
Unquiet Waters, Tana,
Um, Fan
Thana.
and Obey. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
I thought that was excellent. That was so good. But I could be here listing the all like mood swings, Jeffries mood.
Hmm.
Like, see, I'm going to do it now as well. But
Yeah.
yes. Let me know what kind of horror you like, and then I can direct you
Yeah,
accordingly.
we do tend to run the gamut a little bit. I mean,
Oh, it's all sorts.
if you want kind of like depressing British horror, then Gary McMahon and Gary Fry have both written Shadows books.
Yes.
Um, if you want incredibly niche not architecture, archaeological horror, then Steve Tozer's
Steve,
Dirt Under My Skin,
if you're
Dirt Upon
scared
My
of
Skin. Sorry,
plants, go for Dan
sorry.
Coxon's.
Dan Coxon's Green Fingers, yeah, that'll do you. And if you want a sometimes depressing, sometimes wry look at the end of the world, there is a book called The End, which isn't bad either.
I heard that was shit.
Well, you hear from the wrong people, obviously.
Scraped the bottom of the barrel, apparently.
Yeah, well, yeah, very much so. Of the 38 Shadows books that I've so far published, that is right at the bottom. No, it's not. It's excellent.
Thank you,
Um,
Steve.
I suppose one other thing that I would mention, which is
Yes.
not yet available,
Hmm.
but I need to tell the world it's happening at some point, and I might as well do it with you. By the
Yay!
time this comes out, it will be available to pre-order on my site. Is John Llewellyn Probert's collection Made for the Dark, which
Ooh.
I published as a very limited run hardback a long time ago.
Hmm. Hmm.
2017 that came out.
Okay.
And we've meant to do a paperback version ever since and never got around to it. And that is coming
Whee!
out in February.
Oh, fantastic.
So John, if you've not read John William Probert before, John is a absolutely a polymath. He is a retired now surgeon.
Mhm.
Um, One would think full-time film reviewer, given the amount of reviews that he writes, but no, not at
Yeah.
all. And very accomplished author and performer.
Mhm.
And Made for the Dark is his tribute, is tribute the right word, I suppose, to 60s and 70s anthology television horror.
That sounds
So
so good.
it's styled sort of like the Twilight Zone. So John's written a little kind of narrator style introduction to each story.
Mhm.
And there's a wide variety in there of styles and themes. Some are more comedic, some are quite bleak, and one of them um, it has the origins, shall we say, of a certain fictitious, probably fictitious surgeon that Mr. Probert has written about a few times, not least for me. And I'll say no more on that. Right, I hate people who say if you know, you know, and yet
Yeah.
I'm almost about to say that. I'm not going to say that because it's one of those little tiny things that bug me on the internet.
Yeah.
People post a thing and then they put, if you know, you know. Well, I don't know. And now
I
I
don't
feel a
know.
dick because I
Tell
don't
me
know.
more.
Um, so that's coming out in February. That's the only future release that I can tell you about
Oh,
because
I'm excited though.
that is the only one I can tell you personally about some, but I can't publicly say anything about any of the others because they're not signed yet. But
Oh, just wait till we stop recording.
yeah, then we'll talk. But I was planning out my what I'm trying to get better at is planning more in advance, which a number of my authors will tell you I'm not great at.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was talking to me. I think it was in Brighton when we were down for World Fantasy,
Mm.
and they were saying about somebody who had sent me a manuscript and I hadn't got back to them yet. And I said, "Yeah, I'm aware. I know I need to respond to that." And he's like, "It's fine." I said to him, "What will happen is that you'll hear nothing for 6 months, and then Steve will contact you and go, 'Yeah, this was great. I love it. Can we put it out next week?'"
Yeah, that's
Um,
that sounds about right.
which is kind of on brand for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better
Um,
and plan more in advance. So I was planning my whole of next year,
hmm.
and it turns out that I have, I think, 18 books lined up for next year.
God,
Um, they haven't all been agreed yet, but they're all manuscripts that I have, which I will probably be taking all, if not almost all of. Uh,
that's a big year, Steve.
and since I sat down and looked that over, I have come to unofficial, but hopefully shortly official terms with an author about reprinting three of her novels. So
Ooh, oh, I'm so
yeah,
excited.
I'm very excited about it. She's very an awful tease. I'm sorry. She's a very very good author, and these are books that deserve to see the light of day, and are currently not available. So I'm thrilled by that. So
That,
yeah.
yeah, that sounds, that's a lot. Like, yeah, so I definitely could put the link for the site, obviously.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think we should all be keeping our eyes peeled on the internet for news. Um,
Well, yes, do.
yes.
Come and
Um,
sign up for my newsletter at my website. It's not a very exciting newsletter, but it does tell you about books. So
he sends nudes, guys.
yeah,
That's
they're
what the
not news of
newsletter
me,
is.
mercifully, so that's all right. You
Yes,
cut that
yes,
out.
yes.
That's not the sort of thing I want to
News.
say, is it?
The newsletter is a good way to keep abreast of all the news. Sorry, I couldn't. I don't know why I
You
said
you
that.
should be sorry. You're better
I
than this.
I'm not. I'm not. Well, especially in light of me lowering the tone of the entire thing right at the end here. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I've been meaning to ask you for
Thank you.
ages. Um, but yeah, this has been really fun, and I'm hoping to get you back maybe for a part two next year
Oh,
amidst
if you
all of
have
the
to.
releases. That would be great. So we could talk about all of like the brand new stuff that's
Yeah,
out when it's
absolutely.
out. Um, be sure to check out the, ooh, keep wiggling my table. The links in the description. I can direct you. Ask me any questions about the books in the comments because I can direct. I've read so many Black Shuck books. I could probably like, whatever your taste is, there's a book in Black Shucks for you. So just ask me, and I will direct you accordingly. Um, we'll do our little goatee. So you haven't got to do it, Steve, but I'm just gonna bid everyone a lovely happy new year and a bleat.
And indeed, bleat from me.